Okay, great. So we need to look at the installation part, right? So yesterday we did take a look at the basic stuff of Mirth Connect. How do we go ahead and, I mean, what is the architecture of channel within Mirth Connect? How does Mirth Connect processes a message right from the point where it receives in the source, and how it is going to travel through source component, destination component, and then deliver the message to the destination. So that's what we have seen yesterday. So today we'll take a look at how do we install Mirth Connect, what are the various components that we get when we install Mirth Connect. We will also talk about a couple of points that we need to take care of while installing SQL Server. Okay, so if you want to download Mirth Connect, you can go to this website. You can just type NextGen Connect download or Mirth Connect download in Google, and it will take you to this page. But I'm pasting this URL in the chat as well, just in case if you want, you can grab it. And then we have, it will take us to this page. There are three components. One is Mirth Connect, the actual Mirth Connect release. There are regular releases. You can see that if you want to go and get the previous version, you can do that as well by going into archives. But I would highly recommend going with the current version. And then if you have Windows, you can download the Windows version looking at your bitrate. So most of the laptops today are 64-bit. So go with the installer, not with the zip file. Download the installer and then double click on it and click next, next, next. It will install the latest version of Mirth Connect in your system. Okay, along with that, when you install Mirth Connect, it will also ask you to install Administrator Launcher by default. So go ahead and install that too. If you don't have that, then you have this option called Administrator Launcher, which can be installed as well. Okay, if you want older versions, you can go to Archive Downloads, and here you'll find all the older versions of Mirth Connect and all. But that's not needed, as I said. So all that you have to do is just download Mirth Connect 4.1.1. Installation is pretty straightforward. If I start installation on my system, it will mess up with the current version or current installation that I have. That's the reason I'm not showing it up. But I'll just show the initial setup of that. Okay, so it did pop up in another window. So if you go ahead and install Mirth Connect when you have an existing version, then it will ask you whether you want to update the existing one or not. If not, you can, if it's a new version, then it will not ask this. It will just ask you to click on next. So if you proceed from here on, just click next, next, next. It will install the Mirth Connect for you. That's a pretty straightforward process. There is no complication in that. Once that is done, you have to install SQL Server as well. SQL Server will be used by us for performing various exercises, specifically database related exercises where we have to extract data from database, construct HL7 message out of that. So while installing SQL Server, there are a couple of things that I want you guys to keep in mind. You have to install SQL Server Express Edition. And the things that you need to make sure is when installing SQL Server, there are a couple of windows that you have to configure in a specific way. So this is Not that it won't work if you configure it different way, but this will make our life easy to connect our Mirth Connect application to the SQL Server database. Okay, if you do the default configurations, then it will take some time. It may not connect or it may shoot up some issues. So when you're going through the installation process of SQL Server, you will get this window called instance configuration. Okay. So for this instant configuration, do not select named instance, just put it as default instance. Okay. That's one thing that you have to keep in mind. Another thing is, as and when you proceed further into your installation process, there will be another window which will say database engine configuration. Here, make by default, it will be there as Windows authentication mode. Select as mixed mode and provide a password here. Make sure that you remember the password and save the password somewhere. Okay. So these are the two things that you have to keep in mind while installing SQL Server. I will drop these two windows in our WhatsApp chat. Okay. So just refer it and then go ahead and proceed with your installation. Okay.
Dixon, one
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, Vijay.
From where will I get the SQL setup?
You can just type in Google. Let me. Yeah, you can go to this downloads, go to this Express, pick up this Express edition. Okay. I am pasting that as well in the WhatsApp group. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and proceed next with the components that we get when we install Mirth Connect. So whenever you install Mirth Connect, there are three components that you will be getting. Number one, number one is Mirth Connect Administrator. And number two is Mirth Connect Administrator Launcher. Third one is Mirth Connect's Server Manager. Okay, so we'll be looking in this sequence. We'll look at Mirth Connect Server Manager. We'll look at Mirth Connect Administrator. We'll look at Mirth Connect Administrator Launcher. So these are the three components that you will get whenever you install any instance of Mirth Connect. Okay. Third one is a convenient factor or a convenient tool or a convenient uh, window which will help us to go ahead and launch multiple Mirth Connect instances. So it is not the actual software. This was not there before version 3.x something. This was introduced later. The actual Mirth Connect software will have these two components, Mirth Connect Server Manager, Mirth Connect Administrator. Okay, so first let us take a look at Mirth Connect Administrator. Let me switch my sharing of windows because that will show up only on the primary server. Before I do that, give me 1 second. All right, can you guys see my screen now? The primary window.
Yes.
All right, so you have to go to, once you complete your installation, go to Mirth Connect, go to your start and type Mirth Connect, and then it will show you this one, Mirth Connect Server Manager. Uh, just click on that. And once you click on that, if you observe here at the bottom right corner, you can see an icon M, right? So the Mirth Connect Server Manager will pop up in the system tray. So you have to go ahead and click on that and then double click on that, and that will open up the Mirth Connect Server Manager for you. So this is where we will configure the server. So if the server has to run, uh, this is the main part which will manage or run the server. Okay, so let's take a look at that. That's one thing. Second thing is Mirth Connect Administrator. So using the server manager window, using the server manager window itself, you have to go ahead and launch Mirth Connect Administrator and then launch the application. So I'll show you how to do that. All right. So can you guys see my screen where it is showing up Mirth Connect Server Manager?
Yes, Dixon.
Okay, great. So we have four tabs here. One is service, server, database, and info. So service is nothing but the actual service which will help us to go ahead and run the server on the Windows application. So this may not be there in the Mac if someone is using Mac. Anyone using Mac?
No, Dixon.
Okay, looks like no one is using Mac, so we are good there. So on Windows, we have this service, right? For any application to run, a service has to be installed, and that service will help us to go ahead and sit in the operating system and run that particular application. In the same way, for Mirth Connect as well, we have a service called Mirth Connect Service, and this service will help us to go ahead and run the Mirth Connect Server Manager application. So you can access this service through this service tab. You can stop it, you can start it, or you can restart it if you want to, or refresh it. You can also start and stop it through Service Manager. So services.msc is the application that you have to pull out. In this, you will have services for all the applications, right? You have to find out the one which is for Mirth Connect. So let's see. So here you go. You have Mirth Connect service. So you can stop the service, restart it. If you want to go ahead and restart it, stop it, you can do that. There are properties that you can change, like logon properties, in case if you want to run on the network credentials like NT credentials and all. There's a lot that you can do from admin perspective, but this is the service. This is the place where you manage your Mirth Connect service. Then you have server. In server, you have to configure the port number. Okay. So you don't need to configure it explicitly during the process of installation. It will take the default ports. But if your system or the server where you're installing Mirth Connect, if it is using a different port number, if it is using 8080 or 8443 already for some other application, then you may have to go ahead and change these port numbers. Okay, you can change it during the installation process, or you can change later by coming here to the Mirth Connect Server Manager. Okay, so the HTTP port is this one, HTTPS port is this one. It runs on 8080. I changed it to 8090 because I am using 8080 for some other purpose on my system. And then you have your log levels. Here you can set up your log levels. Usually we leave it to errors, not debug. I change it for my internal debugging purposes whenever there is an issue, but usually it is set to error log level. If you want to look at the log files, which will come in handy whenever Mirth Connect is not running, Mirth Connect is hung up, or something else is going wrong with Mirth Connect, you can definitely look at the log file. So I can just double click on that and that will open up. If you want to navigate through the folders and take a look at it, then you have to go to your C drive, find Mirth Connect installation either on program files or program files 86 folder. So we have it here, and here in the Mirth Connect folder, you have this folder called logs. So all the logs are available here. So if you want to explore and understand what's happening with your server, you can come here and try to figure out. So there is an SQL Server error. So all the errors will show up here. If you want to troubleshoot, if you are unable to get into Mirth Connect Administrator Launcher, then this is the best place for us to go ahead and figure out what's happening with Mirth Connect. Okay, so next window that we have is database. So every application has its own front end and back end, right? Mirth Connect is no exception. Mirth Connect has its own front end, and by the way, its own back end, where it can store the data and manage the data and manage the channels that we are creating, manage the configurations that we are creating. In order to do all that, you will have this backend server configuration. So here in the database, you can select any of these 5 databases. Mirth Connect by default supports all of these databases: Postgres, MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server. You can use any one of them. By default, it will be set to Derby. Do not change it initially. Okay, I'll tell you at what point we have to change it. I'm showing you so that you can be aware that we have an option to go ahead and change the backend of Mirth Connect, but don't change it right away. Okay, just install SQL Server and wait for my go ahead on when you can change the backend. Okay, so by default, you will get Derby. As I said, just put it that way for now. And finally, in info, you will get to know which version of Mirth you are running, what is the server ID, what is the Java version that it has to run on. Important point. Mirth Connect is a Java-based application. Without Java, it will not run. You should have either Java 1.8 or basically Java 8 or Java 11. Do not install anything higher than Java 11. You will get several installations, Java 12, 13, 14, 15, 17. Do not install anything. Only install Java 8 or Java 11. Okay, so if you do not have Java, then Mirth Connect installation will not progress any further. So make sure that you are installing Java as well. All right, now let us go ahead and launch our Mirth Connect administrator. So here you have a tab called administrator, right? So if you just click on that, hold on, let me show that to you. So when we click on that, it will take you to this WebStart JNLP file, and it will ask you whether you want to download or not. So you'll get something like this. It will ask you to download this WebStart JNLP. So just select save and it will be saved. Okay, that will be downloaded. You can double click on that and that will launch Mirth Connect Administrator for you. So it started the launching process. So let's go through the launching process. So it will ask you to run. So just run it. Finally, you will get the login window. Okay. So once you click on Administrator Launcher, it will ask you to download the JNLP file. Double click on the JNLP file and just click run wherever it asks you. Then it will bring you to this login window. Admin is the default username and password for the application. Whenever you install it, just provide admin. No need to worry about other things at this point. Unless you are changing the username and password, admin will always work. Okay, I'm waiting for the application to launch. So here we have our application launched successfully. Right, so once you launch the application, this is how it looks like. And in the dashboard window, we'll be launching it will launch directly to the dashboard window. Within the dashboard window, we have the interface channels that are running, and there are a lot of other sections. We'll go through navigation part of each of these application related options. Okay, so here we have finally launched. So we have looked at two components. We have looked at Mirth Connect Server Manager. We have looked at Mirth Connect Administrator. Now let's look at Administrator Launcher. So along with Mirth Connect, you'll also get this Administrator Launcher. Okay, this Administrator Launcher will help you to go ahead and launch multiple Mirth Connect application administrators. So right now I got connected to this local instance of my Mirth Connect, right? What if there is a server which is being stored somewhere else? I have access to that particular server, and a Mirth is installed on that server. Okay, then if I have the URL, I can just go ahead and paste that URL here and click on launch. Okay, and that will launch the application for me. Okay, this is my local installation. That's the reason I was able to open through, and I was able to go ahead and launch it. But if you have a remote installation where you have access to a server, then you can go ahead and just click on launch, and it will launch this window, login window directly. Okay, you don't have to download JNLP. You don't have to double click on that JNLP, anything as such. So when you install Mirth Connect, you will get this one as well. So in the first time installation, you won't see all of this. You will just have this first one. You just have to click on launch, and that will launch the application for you. Okay, so these are the three components that we will get when we install Mirth Connect. So any questions from anyone so far? All right, I'm not hearing anything. So let's jump on to the next topic. So this is all about installations. So if you guys have any obstacles, any stoppers, let me know. We will go ahead and see and solve the problem. So install it today. For the next 2 days, we'll be going mostly through the theoretical part of uh, application tour to navigate through the application, understand various options. But if you can be ready by then, after 2 sessions, we'll be starting our practicals of how do we develop channels, how do we configure channels, and all. So I want you guys to be ready by then. And if you're facing any issues, as I said, we'll troubleshoot, and we'll dedicate the time to make sure that all of us are up and running with Mirth Connect.
Hi Dixon, good morning.
Hey Aisha, yeah, tell me.
Sorry, I ran out of charge and I didn't know where to join because everything was embedded in my phone. But I will go through this session and I will be traveling today. So when you said 2 days, is it like from following Tuesday you will start working? So do we have so much time?
Yeah, today is Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly on Saturday morning, India time, or Tuesday morning next week is when we will start Mirth practical sessions. So if you can be up and running by then, that will be good.
Okay, in case I have any issues because I lost this 30 minutes by chance, I run into any issues, I can touch base with you, right?
Yes, you can message me. No
Okay,
worries.
thank you so much.
Great. All right. So now let us go ahead and understand how Mirth Connect application works. Let's see what all options we have. So whenever you launch Mirth Connect, this is the first window that you will get, which we call as dashboard. So as the name itself suggests, it rightly serves the purpose. So dashboard is the one which will tell us what all interfaces you will have. It is divided into two sections. Upper half will show the list of channels that are actively running. So you can see that there are a couple of channels that are running right now, and we can see the status has started. It will also show you the statistics of how many messages you received, how many were filtered, how many were sent over to the destination, and how many were errored out. So that will help us to figure out what's happening with the channel, whether something is running actively or not, whether something is broken down. If something is broken down, how do we correct it? All of those things can be seen here in the statistics section. Okay, we'll review each one of them. Then in the lower half, you will have this three tabs called server log, connection log, and global maps. Okay, so these three windows will help us to go ahead and figure out what is the status of each one of these channels. Server log by default will log everything what is happening with the server. So I told you, right, this log file will help us. So the same log file is what we see here, but we will be able to see only 99 rows. We won't be able to see more than 99 rows here. If you want to dig further, if you want to see the old logs, then that is when you will go to mirth.log file, which is present on the log folder. Okay, but mostly we'll be seeing the latest server log info here in the server log. Next, you have connection log. So we'll take a look at these two connection logs and global maps later down the line, but server log is important at this point. Now in the upper half, as I said, we have this channels. So let me change it. So we have these channels. We have two channels here right now, right? One is HL7 to PDF. This channel is dedicated to convert HL7 messages to PDF files. And this is a switch case test statement that I was testing because it was not working. So uh, in case if I have to do any trial and error, anything, I just come to my local instance, do some work there to figure out what's happening, or write some transformations and then move to the move to the instance wherever it is needed. Okay, so in this particular situation, we are seeing that we have the name. So we have few columns here, right? So we have the name of the channel. So this is the name that you give for your channel. Then you have revisions. So we'll talk about revisions with a specific example when we get to this channels window. Then the stats, there are few stats that are displayed. As I said, received will tell you how many number of messages were received. If you are adding any filters to your channels, if you remember in yesterday's session, we talked about the router pattern where messages will be filtered, right? So if you filter your messages, then those filters will show up here, stating that 10 messages are filtered, 15 messages are filtered, and so on. Then you have queued will tell you how many number of messages are queued. We may not be aware of what queuing is exactly at this point of time because we haven't looked at it yet. But when we work with TCP/IP channel, when we are building that channel, I will explain what queued is. But if you are queuing the messages, then the number of queued messages will show up here. The next you have sent and errored. Sent will show you how many number of messages are sent successfully to the destination. Then you have errored. Errored will show you how many number of messages got errored out. Okay. So any questions so far with the dashboard? All right, I'm not hearing anything. So let's look at this first column which says status. So this is very, very important because this will help us to see whether a certain channel is running or not running. So there are three different statuses that you will come across. One is started, the other one is stopped, and the third one is paused. So if you want to control each channel, you can highlight each channel, and on the left hand side you will have few tasks, right? There are two tasks out of them which say stop and the other one is paused. So if you stop the channel, you can stop, you can see that the channel is stopped. If you want to restart it, just click on start and it will start the channel. You can do the same thing by right clicking. This is the same window that you are seeing here, right? All the options that are there here will be populated here. So it's up to your convenience whether you want to right click or just navigate to this place. Okay, but this is how we start and stop a channel, which we do mostly while developing the channel uh, or modifying the channel or testing the channel. So this is something that we need very frequently. Now, another important thing is using paused. So what is paused? Why do we need paused? When is it used? Let's see that. So if you look at this channel, HL7 to PDF1, you have a plus icon here. When you expand it, it will show you both the components. I told you, right? Every channel has two components. One is source and the other one is destination. So this is a source component. This is a destination component. Both of them are set individually but are bound together. Both operate individually but are bound together always. That's what we have seen in yesterday's architecture session, right? So that's the reason you have this both components separately listed under one channel. So this is one channel, and under this channel, you have these two components. So when you pause a channel, only the source component is stopped. The destination will still be running. Okay, that's what paused means. Why do we need to use it? When do we use it? Let's say you are receiving hundreds and thousands of messages from source, let's say from PM system. You have received enough messages on your Mirth Connect, let's say 1 million messages, and you don't want to receive any messages anymore until you process these 1 million messages that are stuck in your system. Okay, so that is when you go ahead and use this paused feature. So you'll pause the channel so that you don't receive any message anymore because we have shut down source. So source will not be ready to receive anything from any other system who is trying to send the data to you. And on the destination side, it will still be processing the messages. It will continue to process the messages without any halt. Okay, so that's how the source will work. This paused feature will work. Another use case where pause can be used. So whenever you're working with your channel, let's say you are pulling out the data from database. Okay, your source is pulling out the data from database. And once you pull out the data from database, or whenever the channel is running, it will continuously look into the database to pull out the data from there. Let's say you don't want to pull out the data from database during your testing process, but you want to go ahead and take a look at or reprocess an existing data that you already have in Mirth Connect. At that point, you will set the channel to paused so that it won't connect to the database, but still run the messages on the destination side. So that is another use case. We'll practically look at that use case. But those are the couple of advantages that we get whenever we are using paused feature in Mirth Connect. All right, so now the next thing that we have to do is,
Dixon?
yeah,
Yeah, sorry to disturb.
no problem. Tell me.
This is Aisha here.
Yeah.
When you said we pause it because we don't
Mhm.
want to process more, what will happen to those messages that would have come and queued up or lined up?
They will keep processing. So this is when you shut down the source, you're just shutting down the source listener. Okay, you may be listening on TCP/IP port, you may be running a database connection pool, or you may be listening or getting the data from certain folder. So that connection part, the networking part will stop and channel will not get any more new data. Okay, but the source side transformations, processing the message, destination processing, everything will still run. If you have queued messages, those queued messages will go on processing and they will deliver the message to destination successfully.
Okay. So there's no any limit to that which has got queued up. Because maybe if, as you said, if it is queued up for an hour, then there would be huge bulk of data that's
Yes.
been parked there. And once the channel is started again, then they may just gush into the system. Won't
Yeah.
it break? Won't it break anything?
No, as long as queuing is enabled on either sides, it is not a problem. So you maybe, let's say, this is usually used in a case where you receive hundreds and thousands of messages at once, which is a very rare case, especially, I mean, this scenario comes up only in a situation where you have um, a data dump going on, right? In real-time implementations, you will have messages flowing in real time, so the queuing will be minimum. But to answer your question, yes, the source may be queuing the message on their side until we open up. So, but we want to make sure that our side messages are processed. So that is when we set it to paused. We can deal with the next set of queued messages in the next round. That's how we do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other questions from anyone? All right. So those are the couple of options that we have. So dashboard will always show you the list of channels that are actively running. Okay. Now let us go to the second window, which is called as channels window. So if you go to channels window, I can see that there are a lot of channels in my system, right? Around 164 channels are present in my system or in my instance of Mirth Connect. And out of these 164, only 2 of them are running, right?
So basically, dashboard is only for the active ones.
Yes, exactly. Dashboard is only for the active ones. Channels window is the window where you may develop a channel, you may be testing a channel, you may be working through a channel, and you don't want this to be active and running always because you are in testing phase or development phase or anything as such. So all of these channels right now I am not running them because I don't need them. I may be using them whenever I feel that I need to run certain channel. So same thing might be seen in your real-time workflows as well. You may be having few channels that may not be necessary to be actively running in the dashboard. Okay, so let's look at these options that we have in this window. So there is a certain significance for status here as well. This is not the same like dashboard. In dashboard, you have started, stopped, or paused, but in channels, you have disabled and enabled. Those are the two things that we have. There is certain purpose for having disabled and enabled. We'll talk about that. Next, you have data type. Data type will show you what is the incoming data format of the channel. Um, so if your channel is set to receive HL7 messages, then your data type will be HL7v2. If your channel is set to receive XML data, then your data type will be XML. If your channel is ready to receive JSON, then you will set it to JSON. So there is a way where we can set the data type. I'll show you while configuring the channel, but the data type will tell us the incoming data format that we are expecting to receive from the partner or from the source. Okay. So next we have the name of the channel, and then you have two IDs here. So this is the GUID, which is very unique ID universally. And then you have local ID, which is the ID generated by the local instance. So GUIDs are carried over. Let's say you are moving this channel from this instance to another instance, then it will go ahead and move over that. It will have the same GUID. Okay, so there are few use cases why GUID is used, but just for your information, GUID and local ID both are identifiers for this particular channel. Then you have description that will, when you are creating a channel, you will provide some description. So that description is seen here. Just give me 1 minute, guys. All right. Sorry, guys. So so we have description. Whenever you are creating a channel, you'll provide some description. That description can be seen here. Then you have revisions, the same revisions that we have seen here in the revision window. We'll have that revisions there. We'll take a look at that. While creating the channels, we'll show a few revisions. So at that point, I will explain how these revisions will help. Next, you have last deployed. So deployed is nothing but activating a channel. Okay, we'll be using this term called deploy a lot all through our training. So deployed in the sense activated. So right now, as you can see, this is blank for the reason that none of these channels are deployed or active. So if you look at this one, there are only two channels which are showing the last deployed date time. It says that September 28th is when it got last deployed. So in dashboard, you are seeing both of those active channels. So this will just tell you when exactly it was activated last time. So let's say you have activated a channel in the month of June or deployed a channel in the month of June and it is running since then last deployed date time will show the June date and time. Last modified date and time, if you have messed up anything with the channel, right, changing the name or updating transformations, filters, code, or doing anything with the channel, any changes that you do will be captured and last modified date and time will show when exactly it got modified for the last time. Then here you have status. Status, as I said, is completely different from what you have seen in the dashboard window. In dashboard, you have started, stopped, and paused. In channels window, you have enabled and disabled. You can see that all of my channels are disabled, right? Only a couple of them are enabled. So what is the use of these enabled and disabled options that we have? Let's say my Mirth Connect, my system got shut down. Okay. And it restarted. As soon as it gets restarted, it will go ahead and launch or run the Mirth Connect server. When Mirth Connect server runs, by default nature of Mirth Connect is to deploy all the channels that are in enabled state. Which means if I have 10 channels in the enabled state, it will activate all of those 10 channels and show up in the dashboard window. Okay, that's what has happened now. I just started my Mirth Connect. It was not running for last couple of days. I just started it and you can see that two channels that are in enabled state got deployed. I did not deploy them. That's the reason it is showing today's date, not today's date, yesterday's date. So I think I did it yesterday. So yesterday when I restarted my Mirth Connect server altogether, only these two channels got deployed.
Why?
Okay, because only they are in enabled status.
Okay. And you made it enabled, right?
Yes, I made it enabled. So you can go ahead and enable and disable a channel. So same like dashboard, whenever you highlight a channel, you have these options to manage your dashboard, right? In the same way, in the channels, whenever you select a channel, on the left-hand side, you have channel related tasks. There are many tasks that will help us to go ahead and do various things. One of the options will help you to disable a channel or enable a channel. Okay, I had only these two channels enabled. That's the reason only those two got deployed. So what you have to do when you run Mirth Connect or when you're managing your Mirth Connect instance, you have to keep all the other channels disabled which you are not planning to use or which you don't want to be deployed as soon as the server gets restarted. So in case of any unnecessary restarts of the server, let's say that your server had a power outage and there is a restart of the server, then at that point, you don't want unnecessary channels to be deployed into the dashboard, right? So you have to go ahead and make sure and manage that only the channels that are required to be deployed or activated are in enabled status. So this is more of like operations management thing where they have to manage the dashboard and the channels window. Okay, because the default nature of Mirth Connect is to go ahead and deploy all the channels that are active or that are in enabled state as soon as the server gets restarted. Okay, that's the main purpose of this one. But if you want to change the default behavior uh, of the channels, if you don't want the channels to get let's say that you don't want the channels to be deployed as soon as the server restarts, you can change that, but I wouldn't recommend to do that. It's better to manage the channels than to shut it off.
And Dixon, when, as you said, if there is an enabled and deployed channel which is up and running, but I would like to modify something due to a scope change
Mm-hmm.
or a change request for that our channel, then we have to go back like how we normally do it in any other applications. We go back and stop, disable them, and then make modifications and enable. Is that
No,
how
no,
it
no,
is?
no. In Mirth Connect, we don't need to disable. The active will keep running, and in the channels window, you can make whatever changes you want to make, whatever transformations you want to add. Once everything is done, you have to save the channel and then sync them with the active channel. That is where these revisions will show up. I'll show that to you.
Okay.
We'll take a look at that. That's what I was
Okay.
saying. We'll take a look at that practically to
Okay.
see what is the delta between the active channel and the channel which is being modified. So we'll take a look at that.
Okay, so we are not right clicking and doing the disable stuff here.
No, 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 not at
Okay.
all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Dixon Vijay here.
Yeah, Vijay, go ahead.
If by mistake some other channels are in enabled state which are and they get deployed when server starts, what happens actually?
Those channels will keep on running. So if you have channels which are polling database, it will pull out the data, it will run the data. If you are having a TCP IP connection, then it will start listening on those channels. So basically the channel will run.
Okay.
If you don't want that channel to run, then you have to ensure that you set it to disabled state.
Okay.
And I would always recommend doing that, especially with you guys as you are beginners. The reason is, let's say you are connecting to database. I'll tell you the problem that I ran into. I developed so many database related channels, right? Because I during the training I create a lot of channels. I leave them. What happens is, let's say my system got restarted, Mirth Connect also gets restarted, and the database channels will get deployed. Okay, I am not launching the Mirth Connect administrator to see what's happening. Mirth Connect server is running behind the scenes. So it deployed the channel and it is pulling out the data continuously, sending lakhs of messages. I am let's say I logged into my system after 2-3 days, and I see that there are lakhs of messages that were processed by the channel. It may not be processing to some other destination, but still it is running, consuming my resources that are on my system. Another thing is I may be logged out of the database. Okay, so let's say I have ran a lot of messages continuously and my database space of Express Edition gives you 10 GB of space. Okay, so you cannot use more than 10 GB. So that space might be locked out. So you don't want such things to happen. So just keep the channels disabled, activate them only when you want to activate them. Okay. Any other questions from anyone? All right.
Dixon Shweta here.
Yeah, Shweta.
If we does this channel accept CSV data type
Yes, it does.
directly
Yes, it does. We
and
have.
flat file?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So I think I should have somewhere. Yeah, but anyway, it accepts CSV. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a data format which can say that go ahead and take a CSV file and process it. Delimited text. That's what you use.
Okay. So data type is delimited test.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right. Thanks, everyone. You all have a very good day. We'll catch up tomorrow morning at the same time to run with to go through rest of the Mirth Connect. So meanwhile, please try installing. Let me know if you have any issues.
Sure. Do we need a SQL for installing this Dixon?
No,
Or
no, no.
this is
SQL,
something-
just install SQL. For running Mirth Connect, you don't need SQL right now.
Okay, so
I
I can
specified
go.
that.
Okay, sorry, maybe I
Yeah,
didn't.
right.
I wasn't part of it. Okay, I will try to install only Mirth then.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.